She stood in my parents' driveway with the keys still dangling from her fingers. My brand new Tesla crushed against the garage door, and she smiled like she'd just won a game. "Mom and Dad will take my side," she said. "There's nothing you can do." The hood was folded in on itself. Steam curled up into the night. The smell of burnt rubber and metal sat in my throat. I didn't scream, I didn't move. I just stared at what used to be the car I worked 3 years straight to afford. My sister leaned back against the porch railing, arms crossed, watching me like I was the entertainment. I walked closer. Glass cracked under my shoes. My reflection looked back at me from the shattered windshield, split and crooked. "You did this on purpose," I said, my voice low. She shrugged. "It was an accident. Cars crash. You'll live." I looked at the garage door, bent inward, paint scraped clean. This wasn't a little bump, this was full speed. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. If you've ever been treated like this by family, hit like and subscribe, because this story proves what happens when you stop staying silent. The front door opened behind her. My mom rushed out first, robe tied tight, eyes wide. My dad followed, already frowning like I'd done something wrong. "What's all this noise?" my mom asked, then saw the car. "Oh my God." My sister didn't even turn around. "It was an accident," she said again, louder, like she was practicing. "She's overreacting." My dad's eyes went straight to me. "Why were you letting her drive something like that?" I felt my jaw tighten. I wasn't letting her. "She took the keys without asking." "That's not true," my sister said quickly. "She said I could just take it around the block." I stared at her. "You stole them from my bag." Mom stepped between us. "Enough. Yelling won't fix anything." I pointed at the wreck. "She just destroyed my car." Dad crossed his arms. "It's just a car. Nobody's hurt. Just a car." 2 words. 3 years of overtime shifts. Missed weekends. Eating instant noodles so I could save every extra dollar. All of it crushed into metal. "She's 21, I said. She knew better." My sister rolled her eyes. "You're so dramatic." I looked at my parents, waiting for one of them to say something fair, waiting for them to look at her and tell her this wasn't okay. Mom sighed instead. "Sweetheart, you know your sister didn't mean it." I let out a slow breath. "Did you even ask her what happened?" Dad waved his hand. "There's no point. Insurance will handle it." My sister's smirk came back. She tilted her head at me, just enough so I could see it. "Told you," she mouthed. Something cold settled in my chest. I pulled my phone out and took pictures. The car, the garage, the tire marks that started halfway down the driveway. "What are you doing?" my sister asked. "Documenting," I said. Dad frowned. "You don't need to make this into a big deal." "It already is," I said. "That car is totaled." Mom touched my arm. "We'll talk about it in the morning. Everyone's upset right now." "No," I said. "We talk about it now." My sister scoffed. "You always have to be in control." I turned to her. "Why were you even driving it?" She hesitated for half a second. "I just wanted to see what it felt like." "At midnight?" I asked. She shrugged again. "Couldn't sleep." The tire marks told a different story. Straight line, no curve, no attempt to stop. "You were speeding," I said. "So what?" she snapped. "It's a fast car. That's what it's for." My dad raised his voice. "That's enough. Don't talk to her like that." I laughed, short and empty. "Like what? Like she just wrecked my car?" Mom's eyes filled with tears. "Please. I can't deal with this right now." That was always how it went. Her tears ended everything. I stepped back and looked at all 3 of them. My sister leaning smug against the railing, my mom shaking her head like I was the problem, my dad already set in his judgment. "I'm calling the police," I said. My sister's smile faded for the first time. "Don't be ridiculous." Dad's head snapped up. "Absolutely not." "This is my property," I said. "She took it without permission and destroyed it." Mom grabbed my wrist. "You are not doing that to your own sister." I gently pulled my arm free. "Watch me." I dialed. My sister's voice sharpened. "Hang up. Now." I kept my eyes on her while the call connected. "There's been a crash. No injuries. I need an officer." Dad stepped closer. "You're embarrassing this family." I almost laughed again. "That's funny. Because I feel like I've been embarrassing myself for this family for years." He went quiet. The wait felt longer than it probably was. 10 minutes, maybe less. but every second my sister stared at me like she was daring me to blink. "You think this will change anything?" she said softly. "They'll still believe me." I didn't answer. When the police car pulled up, the red and blue lights washed over the driveway, over the wreck, over all of us standing there like a broken picture. The officer stepped out, calm, professional. "Who owns the vehicle?" "I do," I said. "My sister jumped in. It was an accident. She let me drive." "No, I didn't," I said. The officer looked between us. "I'll need to hear from both of you." Dad cleared his throat. "Officer, this is a family matter. We can handle it ourselves." The officer shook his head. "If there's a report, we need statements." He turned back to me. "Was the driver authorized to use the car?" I looked at my sister. She stared back, jaw tight. "No," I said. "She took the keys without asking." My mom gasped. "Why would you say that?" "Because it's true," I said. My sister's voice rose. "You're lying." The officer raised a hand. One at a time, he took notes while each of us spoke. I kept my words simple. Facts only. No emotion. No history. When my sister told her version, she said I handed her the keys. Said I encouraged her. Said I knew she was taking it out. I watched the officer's pen pause for a second. "Do you have proof?" he asked her. She hesitated. She was there. I spoke up. My bag was in the kitchen. The keys were inside. I was upstairs. Dad shot me a look. "You didn't have to say that." "Yes, I did," I said. The officer nodded slowly. "I'll include both statements." He handed me a card. "You can request the full report tomorrow." As he walked back to his car, my sister leaned toward me, her voice low so only I could hear. "This won't stick. You'll see." I looked at her, really looked at her, and realized she truly believed that. The police car drove away. The lights disappeared. The driveway went dark again. My parents turned to me like I just committed some unforgivable act. "I can't believe you did that," my mom said. Dad shook his head. "You've gone too far." I felt something in me harden. "No, I've gone far enough." I took one last picture of the wreck, then picked up my bag. "I'm leaving," I said. My sister laughed quietly. "Running away won't fix your car." I faced her. "This isn't over." She smiled again. "It already is." I walked to my own car parked down the street and sat behind the wheel, hands gripping it so tight they hurt. My chest felt heavy, but my mind was clear for the first time that night. They had chosen. Like always, and now, so had I. I didn't go home that night. I sat in my car 2 blocks away until my hands stopped shaking, then drove to my apartment and lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling, replaying her smirk over and over. By morning, my phone was full. Missed calls from Mom, 2 from Dad, 1 text from my sister. "Stop being dramatic. We'll talk when you calm down." I didn't reply. I called my insurance first. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. Gave them the basics. Location, time, driver. "Was the driver listed on your policy?" the agent asked. "No," I said. "She took the car without permission." There was a pause. "Then we'll open this as an unauthorized use claim. We'll also request the police report. Unauthorized use." The words landed heavy but clean. By noon, a tow truck had picked up what was left of my Tesla. I stood there watching it disappear down the street, feeling like I was watching years of my life being dragged away. My mom called again. I finally answered. "Why are you doing this?" she said, not even saying hello. "Because she stole my car and wrecked it. She's your sister, and it was my car." Mom sighed. "You know how sensitive she is." I closed my eyes. "Sensitive doesn't mean not responsible. You're tearing this family apart over money." I felt a slow heat rise in my chest. She tore it apart when she put her foot on the gas. Mom went quiet. "Your father is very upset. I'm sure he is." That afternoon, Dad showed up at my apartment without warning. He stood in my doorway like he owned the place. "We need to talk," he said. I stepped aside. He didn't sit. Just paced. "You embarrassed us last night," he said. "Calling the police like that." I protected myself, I said. He stopped pacing and looked at me. "Your sister is scared. She thinks she could get in serious trouble." "She should be," I said. His jaw tightened. "You don't mean that." "I do." He stepped closer. "Listen to me. We'll pay your deductible. We'll help however we can. But you need to tell the insurance it was a misunderstanding." I stared at him. "You want me to lie?" I want you to keep this in the family. That's what you always say, I said, and it always means I lose. His eyes narrowed. You're being selfish. I let out a short laugh. Selfish is stealing someone's car at midnight and smashing it into a wall. He shook his head. You've changed. No, I said. I just stopped swallowing it. He left without another word. The next day, I went to the police station to get a copy of the report. I sat on a plastic chair, listening to a radio crackle behind the desk, waiting for my name. When they handed me the paper, my eyes went straight to the statements. Mine was there. Clean, simple. Then hers. She claimed I handed her the keys, that I told her to take it for a spin, that I knew she was going out. My stomach turned. But then I saw the officer's note at the bottom. Tire marks indicate high acceleration. Driver admits to speeding. Conflicting statements regarding authorization. Conflicting, not believed, just noted. I took the report home and scanned it into my laptop. That's when I remembered something. My building had cameras in the hallway, facing the elevators, facing the stairwell, facing the door to the parking garage. I emailed management. Need footage from last night, between 11:30 p.m. and midnight. Possible theft. They replied 2 hours later. We can provide clips upon formal request. I drove there in person. By evening, I had it. Grainy footage, time-stamped, my sister walking out of my apartment hallway, my bag slung over her shoulder, stopping, opening it, pulling out my keys, looking around, smiling to herself. Then another clip. Her getting into my car alone. No me, no one else. I sat there watching it on loop, my chest tight but my mind sharp. This was it. My phone buzzed. A message from my sister. You've made your point. Can we just move on now? I typed back. I have a video of you taking my keys. 3 dots appeared. Then disappeared. A minute later my phone rang. I didn't answer. Another call. Then another. I finally picked up. You're lying, she said, her voice not as steady as usual. I'm not. Silence. You wouldn't actually use that, she said. I already sent it to my insurance. Her breath caught. You did what? I sent them the footage and the police report, I said. They're investigating. She raised her voice. You're ruining my life over a stupid car. I kept my tone flat. You made your choice when you took it. You think they'll care? She snapped. Mom and Dad won't let this happen. I thought about my parents standing in that driveway, already on her side. I'm not asking them. She hung up an hour later. Mom called. What'd you tell your sister? She demanded. The truth. She's crying. She says you're threatening her. I'm holding her responsible. Mom's voice shook. You're going too far. This could affect her future. I leaned against my kitchen counter. So could killing someone with my car? That's not fair, she said. Neither is this, I replied. The next few days were quiet. Too quiet. Then the insurance adjuster called. We've reviewed the initial report, he said. We'll need to speak with the driver directly. There are discrepancies. I smiled for the first time in days. She's available. That evening my parents asked me to come over. We need to resolve this as a family, Dad said on the phone. I almost didn't go. But I did. They were both in the living room when I arrived. My sister sat on the couch, arms wrapped around herself, eyes red like she'd practiced in a mirror. Mom gestured for me to sit. We just want peace. My sister looked up at me. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I didn't sit. You meant to take the car. She looked down. I just wanted to try it, Dad cut in. Enough. We've talked about this. She'll apologize, and we'll all move on. I looked at him. That's not how this ends. My sister snapped her head up. What do you want from me? The truth, I said. To them, to insurance, to everyone. She shook her head. If I do that, I'm screwed. I nodded. That's called consequences. Mom started crying again. How can you be so cold? I felt my voice stay steady. Because I'm tired of being the one who pays. Dad stood. If you go through with this, don't expect our support. I met his eyes. I haven't had it in years. My sister stared at me, anger breaking through her tears. You think you've won, she said, but you don't know everything. I tilted my head. What does that mean? She looked at my parents, then back at me. A slow, dangerous smile touched her lips. "You'll see." A chill ran through me. I left without another word. That night I couldn't sleep. Her voice kept echoing in my head. "You don't know everything." By morning I got an email from my insurance. "Please attend a recorded call tomorrow with all involved parties." All involved. That meant her. And whatever she thought she still had up her sleeve, the call was set for 10 a.m. sharp. I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open, the hallway footage queued, the police report beside me, a cup of coffee I hadn't touched. When the line connected, the adjuster's voice came through first. Calm. Neutral. "Thank you all for joining. This call is being recorded." Then I heard my sister's voice. Tight, controlled, okay, and my dad's. "We're here." Of course they were with her. The adjuster went through the basics again. Date, time, location. Then came the question that mattered. Was the driver authorized to use the vehicle? There was a pause. "Yes," my sister said. She gave me the keys. My jaw clenched, but I didn't interrupt. The adjuster turned to me. Is that accurate?" "No," I said. "She took them from my bag without permission," Dad cut in. "There's been a misunderstanding. The girls are emotional. We're trying to sort this out as a family." The adjuster didn't rise to it. "Sir, I need factual answers only." He went quiet. "Do you have any evidence to support your statement?" The adjuster asked me. "Yes," I said. "I have video footage from my apartment hallway showing her taking my keys and leaving alone." Another pause. Longer this time. "You already submitted that?" he asked. "Yes, thank you," he said. "We've received it and are reviewing. For now, I'll continue." My sister's breathing was loud in my ear. The adjuster moved on to the crash itself. Speed, direction, damage. "Did you attempt to brake?" he asked her. "Yes," she said quickly. "But the car just took off. It's too powerful." I leaned forward. "That's not how brakes work," Dad snapped. "Don't interrupt." The adjuster spoke over him. "We'll analyze the vehicle data as well." "Vehicle data," I almost smiled. "Tesla logs everything." After 30 minutes the call ended. "We'll be in touch," the adjuster said. The line went dead. 5 seconds later, my sister called me directly. I didn't answer. She texted, "You're really doing this." I typed back, "You really did it." An hour later, Mom showed up at my apartment, eyes swollen, carrying a bag of pastries like it was a peace offering. "I just want to talk," she said. I let her in. She sat at my table looking around like she hadn't been here before. Maybe she hadn't. I'd moved out 3 years ago. She rarely visited. "She's terrified," Mom said softly. "They're saying this could be considered theft." "It was theft," I said. "She's your sister, and I was her target." Mom's eyes filled again. "Why are you punishing her like this?" I kept my voice level. "I'm not punishing her. I'm telling the truth." "Mom, show?" "Okay, her head. You've always been so stubborn." I looked at her. "No, I've always been quiet. There's a difference." She reached across the table and tried to take my hand. I pulled it back gently. "You don't know what this will do to her record," she said. "To her chances, and you don't know what it would have done to me if she hit someone," I replied. Mom went silent. Before she could say more, my phone buzzed. An email from the adjuster. "Preliminary findings indicate unauthorized use of the vehicle. Further review pending vehicle telemetry." I felt my chest loosen just a little. Mom saw my face change. "What is it?" "They're leaning my way," I said. Her shoulders slumped. "Please. There has to be another way." I stood. "This is the way." She left soon after, defeated. That evening my sister showed up. She didn't knock. She pounded. When I opened the door, she pushed past me into my apartment, eyes blazing. "You think you're better than me now?" she snapped. I closed the door slowly. "You shouldn't be here. You're trying to ruin me," she said, turning on me. "Over a stupid car." I kept my voice low. "You ruined it when you drove it." She laughed, sharp and bitter. "You always had to be the responsible one. The perfect one. Mom and Dad's pride." I stared at her. "You know that's not true." She stepped closer. "They only defend me because they know you can handle it. You always do." The words hit harder than any insult. "So that's it," I said. "You hurt me because you think I can take it." She hesitated, just for a second. Then her face hardened again. I think you like playing the victim. I walked to my laptop and turned it toward her. The hallway footage was paused on her face, caught in the moment she pulled my keys from my bag. Tell me again I'm lying, I said. Her eyes widened. She stared at the screen, color draining from her face. You can't use that, she whispered. I already did. She lunged forward and slammed the laptop shut. Delete it. I didn't move. No. Her voice shook. If you do this, they'll never forgive you. I met her eyes. I'm not doing this for them. She swallowed. What do you want? I took a breath. I want you to admit what you did, to everyone, and I want you to stop hiding behind them. She looked away. You don't understand. Then make me, I said. Her shoulders sagged. If this goes through, I could lose my license, maybe worse. I nodded. You should have thought of that. She stared at me, then suddenly laughed, hollow. You really have changed. No, I said. You just finally see me. She backed toward the door. This isn't over. I watched her leave. It is for me. 2 days later, the adjuster called again. We've completed our review, he said. The vehicle data confirms high acceleration with no braking before impact. Combined with the footage, we're classifying this as unauthorized use. I closed my eyes. Your claim will be covered, he continued. However, we'll be pursuing recovery from the driver, meaning her, I said. Yes. After the call, I sat there in silence, letting it sink in. I'd won the claim, but I knew my family. This was where things usually turned ugly. That night, Dad called. You're happy now? He said, not even greeting me. I'm relieved, I said. You've put your sister in serious trouble. She put herself there. He raised his voice. We raised you better than this. I felt something inside me go still. You raised me to clean up messes that weren't mine. Silence. Then he said, Cold, if you go through with this, don't bother coming back here. I didn't hesitate. I won't. We hung up. I sat alone in my apartment, staring at the wall, feeling the weight of it. I had my truth. But I was about to lose what little family I had left. And somehow I knew my cyst. R still hadn't played her last card. The letter came in a plain white envelope with my insurance company's logo in the corner. I didn't open it right away. I already knew what it would say, but I needed to feel it in my hands. When I finally did, it was simple. Claim approved. Vehicle deemed total loss. Subrogation in progress against the at-fault party. At-fault party. My sister. I folded the paper and sat back. It wasn't joy, it was something quieter, like a knot finally loosening. An hour later, my phone lit up. Her name. I didn't answer. Then a text. They're saying I owe thousands. This is your fault. I stared at the screen, then typed. You owe because you did it. 3 dots appeared, vanished, then appeared again. You always wanted me to fail. I didn't reply. That evening, my parents called together. I could tell from the way Mom's voice sounded when I answered. We got a letter too, she said. They're coming after her. Yes, I said. Dad jumped in. You need to call them and tell them to stop. I can't, I said, and even if I could, I wouldn't. Mom's voice broke. She can't afford this. She's barely working. That's not my problem, I said. Dad snapped. How can you be so heartless? I kept my voice calm. You mean how can I finally not carry it for her? They started talking over each other, pleading, blaming, rewriting what happened. I let them talk until there was a pause. Then I said, this conversation is over. I hung up. For the first time in my life, I didn't wait for permission. The next week was quiet. No calls, no texts. Then my sister showed up again. This time she looked different. No makeup, hair pulled back, eyes tired. She stood in my doorway, hands clenched. I need help, she said. I didn't invite her in. With what? With this mess, she said. They're saying if I don't cooperate, it could get worse. I studied her face. So company. Operate. She shook her head. I don't want to admit it. Then don't, I said. But don't ask me to lie for you. Her eyes filled with tears. Real ones this time. You don't understand how scared I am. I nodded slowly. I do. I was scared when I saw my car crushed. I was scared when you stood there smiling. You didn't care then. She wiped her cheeks angrily. I didn't think it would go this far. That's the problem, I said. You never think past yourself. She looked down. Mom and Dad won't talk to me anymore. They're fighting because of this. I felt a flicker of something, but I kept my tone steady. That's between you and them. She took a shaky breath. If I admit it, will you stop everything? I met her eyes. I can't. It's not in my control anymore. Her face twisted. So you really won? I shook my head. This isn't about winning. Then what is it about? She asked. I answered without thinking. About me not disappearing anymore? She stared at me like she didn't recognize me. Then she turned and walked away. 2 days later, I got a call from an unknown number. It was the insurance investigator. We've spoken with the driver, he said. She's now admitting she took the vehicle without permission. I closed my eyes. Thank you for letting me know. There may be further steps from our legal team, he added. You might be contacted as a witness. I understand, I said. When the call ended, I sat there, heart pounding. She'd finally said it, out loud, to someone who mattered. That night, my mom texted me. She admitted it. She told them everything. I stared at the message for a long time, then I typed back, I hope she learns from it. Mom replied almost immediately. You could still make this easier for her. I didn't answer. The weeks that followed were heavy but steady. The payout came through. Enough to clear the loan on the Tesla. Enough to breathe a gain. I didn't buy another car right away. I wasn't ready. My parents didn't call. Not for my birthday. Not even when Mom had a minor surgery. I heard about it from an aunt. It hurt. But it didn't break me. One afternoon, I ran into my cousin at the grocery store. She pulled me aside. You know everyone's talking, right? She said. I raised an eyebrow. About what? About how you turned your sister in, she said. Some think you went too far. I shrugged. They weren't there. She studied my face. You look different. I am, I said. That night my sister texted again. I lost my license today. I stared at the words. Then I replied, I'm sorry, I hope you're safe. It was the first kind thing I'd said to her since it happened. She didn't respond. A week later, Dad called. I almost didn't pick up, but I did. His voice was tired. Your mother hasn't been sleeping. I'm sorry to hear that, I said. He sighed. This has torn us apart. I kept my voice calm. It was already torn. Silence. She admitted it, he said finally. We know, I said. Another pause. You could have handled it differently. I took a breath. So could she. He didn't argue. We're not ready to see you yet, he said. I understand, I replied. When the call ended, I sat there in the quiet, feeling the weight of it all. The truth was out, the consequences were moving, but the distance between us had never felt wider. And still, I didn't regret it, because for the first time in my life, I wasn't the one bending. I was standing. The letter from the recovery firm came a month later. Not to me, to her. But Mom sent me a picture of it anyway, like I was supposed to feel something. Demand for repayment, it said in bold at the top. Thousands of dollars. Payment plans. Deadlines. I stared at the image on my phone, then locked the screen. I felt nothing. Not because I was cruel, but because I was done carrying what wasn't mine. I was walking out of work that evening when I saw my sister sitting on the steps outside my building. Hoodie pulled over her head, knees tucked to her chest. For a second I thought about turning around, but I didn't. I stopped a few feet away. What are you doing here? She looked up. Her eyes were red, but her face was calm, tired, not angry this time. I just wanted to see you, she said. I crossed my arms. You could have texted. I didn't think you'd answer. I waited. She took a breath. I signed the repayment agreement today. I nodded. Okay, they're setting up a payment plan. It's going to take years, she said. I know. She looked down at her hands. I also had to go to traffic court. I didn't say anything. They suspended my license for 6 months, she continued, and I have to take a safety course. I nodded again. That's what happens. She swallowed. I hate that you were right. I met her eyes. I don't want to be right. I wanted you to not do it. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, I'm sorry. The words hung in the air, not rushed, not forced, just there. I studied her face, searching for the smirk, the arrogance, the version of her that stood in that driveway and dared me to fight. It wasn't there. I'm sorry, too, she added. Not for getting caught, for taking it, for lying, For thinking you'd clean it up like always." My throat tightened, but my voice stayed steady. "Why did you think that?" She shrugged weakly. "Because you always did." That was the truest thing she'd ever said. We stood there in silence while a car passed on the street, headlights washing over us. "I'm not here to ask you to fix anything," she said. "I just didn't want this to end with nothing said." I nodded slowly. "It doesn't end with nothing." She looked at me. "Does it end with us not being sisters anymore?" I thought about all the nights I'd defended her, all the times I'd taken the blame, all the times I'd been told to be the bigger person. Then I thought about the driveway, the wreck, the smirk. "It ends with boundaries," I said. "Not nothing, but not what it was." She let out a shaky breath. "I deserve that." I was surprised she said it. She stood up. "I won't come here again." "Okay," I said. She hesitated, then stepped closer and hugged me, light, careful, like she wasn't sure she was allowed. I didn't hug her back at first. Then I did. Just for a second. She pulled away quickly, embarrassed. "Take care of yourself." "You too," I said. She walked down the steps and into the night. I went upstairs and sat on my couch in the dark, replaying it. Not the crash this time. The apology, it didn't erase anything, but it softened the edge. A week later, Mom called. Her voice was quieter than usual. She told us she was wrong. About everything. "I know," I said. Dad got on the line. "We didn't handle it well," he admitted. "We were trying to protect her. We forgot we were hurting you." The words felt heavy but real. "I needed you to see it," I said. "Not just say it." Mom sniffed. "We do now." There was a pause. "We're not asking you to come back like nothing happened," Dad said. "But you're still our daughter." I closed my eyes. I never stopped being. They didn't argue. We didn't fix everything that night. But we stopped pretending it wasn't broken. Over the next months, things settled. I bought a modest car. Nothing flashy, just something reliable. My sister started taking the bus, then riding with coworkers. She didn't complain, at least not to me. Sometimes she texted updates. About work, about classes she'd started. Short messages, no drama. I replied when I could. My parents invited me over for dinner one Sunday. The first time since everything. It was awkward. Quiet. But no one raised their voice. No one pretended. When I left, Mom hugged me longer than usual. "Thank you for not giving up on us," she whispered. I didn't say what I almost said, that I hadn't done this for them. I'd done it for me. One evening, months later, I walked past a Tesla in a parking lot. Same model, same color. For a moment, my chest tightened. Then it eased, because it wasn't about the car anymore. It never really was. It was about the night I stopped letting myself be the one who absorbed the damage so everyone else could pretend nothing happened. It was about standing in the wreck and choosing truth, even when it cost me. I learned something from all of it. Not that family always protects you, but that sometimes the only justice you get is the kind you're brave enough to hold on to. And that can be enough.